The Grand Galactic Council chamber gleamed with its usual ostentatious splendor, all polished crystalline surfaces and floating holographic displays. Ambassador Chen fought the urge to prop her boots on the elaborately carved desk in front of her, instead taking another slow sip of her contraband coffee. The drink itself had caused quite the scandal when first introduced to the council. Apparently, willingly consuming a toxic stimulant extract was considered rather barbaric. And furthermore, droned councillors exhale, their iridescent membranes fluttering in what Chen recognized as barely contained disgust. The humans continue to engage in completely uncivilized behavioral patterns. Just last week, I witnessed one of their diplomatic staff engaging in voluntary physical exertion exercise. They call it in the embassy gardens. Chen took another sip to hide her smirk. The horror of witnessing someone jogging must have been traumatic for the delicate counselor. Most concerning indeed, hummed Ambassador VRRK, their crystalline form shifting colors in agitation. I have reports of humans consuming non-processed organic matter, raw plant material, in public, they call it. They paused dramatically, salad. A collective shudder ran through the assembled alien diplomats. Chen counted the ceiling tiles for the 100th time, wondering if she could beat her previous record of finding shapes in the abstract patterns. The final straw, declared High Counselor Nix-Nax, all 6 appendages raised in righteous indignation, was the incident at last month's Galactic Peace Festival. A human child was observed engaging in unregulated recreational activity, producing high-frequency vocalizations of apparent pleasure while pursuing other younglings in some primitive dominance ritual they termed tag. Chen's internal eye roll reached new heights. They'd been debating for 6 hours about children playing at a party. She checked her datapad, make that 7 hours. We must act decisively, Zextal proclaimed. I propose immediate regulations on human behavior in civilized space. No more of these barbaric displays of physical capability. No more consumption of unprocessed materials. And absolutely no more unauthorized expressions of joy. The voting commenced, holographic indicators blinking as each species registered their approval. Chen watched the unanimous decision form with practiced diplomatic neutrality, even as she mentally composed a highly entertaining report for Earth's government. The motion passes, announced High Counselor Nix-Nax. Ambassador Chen, you will ensure your species complies with these new civilized behavior protocols. Chen smiled pleasantly, raising her coffee cup in acknowledgement. Of course, High Counselor. We humans are always eager to learn the ways of galactic civilization. She took a final, deliberately loud sip. Though I do have one small question about the implementation timeline. Yes, Nix-Nax's eye stalk swiveled suspiciously. When exactly did you all plan to start being civilized? The first distress signal came 3 days after the civilized behavior regulations were implemented. A merchant vessel, the Star Whisper, had been attacked in the Orion Cygnus trade corridor. Chen watched the holographic replay with narrowed eyes as pirates efficiently disabled the ship's engines and began boarding operations. This is clearly a matter requiring careful diplomatic consideration, Counselor Zextal declared during the emergency session. We must establish a committee to evaluate the proper response protocols. The attacks occurred less than 2 light years from Earth space, Chen pointed out, her coffee cup notably absent due to the new regulations. The Third Fleet is already in position. We could have this resolved in. Ambassador Chen, High Counselor Nix-Nax's appendages wiggled in disapproval. Surely you're not suggesting immediate military action? How barbaric. We must follow proper civilized procedures. Of course, Chen smiled thinly. I merely thought. The proper channel, interrupted Ambassador VRK, is to first form an investigative committee, which will then report to the Response Evaluation Board, which submits recommendations to the Action Consideration Panel, which then. Another holographic alert flashed. 2 more ships taken. We request permission to handle this situation, Chen stated flatly. The Third Fleet can. Denied, chorused half the council. We must maintain civilized protocols. 3 days and 12 committee meetings later, 5 more ships had been attacked. The pirates were growing bolder, their tactics more aggressive. Chen sat through another 8-hour session of diplomatic debates, watching casualty reports scroll across her datapad. must consider the psychological impact of any response on the perpetrators, droned one ambassador. Perhaps we could establish a dialogue about their motivations, suggested another. Sensitivity training for our response teams. Chen's shoulders started shaking. Several nearby diplomats edged away nervously as small snorting sounds escaped her. The laughter built slowly, starting as a chuckle and growing into full-throated howls that echoed through the chamber. Ambassador Chen Nix-Nax's eye stalks quivered in shock. This is hardly appropriate behavior for... Oh, I'm sorry. Chen wiped tears from her eyes, still giggling. I just finally got the joke. You all actually think you're civilized. I beg your pardon. You sit here, Chen continued, her laughter taking on a dangerous edge, debating proper procedures while people die. You form committees while pirates raid helpless ships. You worry about being civilized while innocent civilians cry for help. She stood, smile sharp as a razor. You know what's really uncivilized? Letting people suffer because you're too worried about appearances to help them. Now see here, Zextal began. Another alert flashed. The pirates had just hit a passenger liner. Chen's laughter stopped abruptly. Well, she said, reaching for her communicator, I think we've had enough civilization for one day. Ambassador Chen Nix-Nax's voice rose in panic. Whatever you're planning. Don't worry, Chen's grin was positively feral now. We'll handle this in a perfectly uncivilized manner. The council chamber erupted in chaos as the emergency alert blared. The pirates had struck New Montana, a human colony on the frontier. Chen watched the tactical display with cold eyes as red dots indicated multiple hostile ships entering orbit. We must convene an emergency response committee. Nix-Nax's voice wavered. Perhaps if we draft a strongly worded condemnation. 43 Chen's voice cut through the panic like a blade. What? 43 ships lost. 112 lives ended. Thousands affected. She stood slowly. And you're still talking about committees. The council fell silent as Chen reached for her communicator. Her smile was that of a predator finally done playing with its food. Well, we tried doing it your way. She keyed the device. Execute Operation Party Time. The tactical display exploded with new signatures as the Third Fleet shimmered into existence, stealth fields dropping like cloaks at a masquerade ball. The council gasped collectively as hundreds of human warships materialized around the pirate fleet. You had a battle fleet in position this entire time. Zextal's membranes fluttered in shock. Of course we did. Chen's grin widened. We're uncivilized barbarians, remember? Now, please excuse me while I direct this absolute violation of everything you consider proper. The main display activated, showing multiple feeds from the battle. The council watched in horror and poorly concealed fascination as humanity unleashed its full, unrestricted nature. In the vacuum of space, Marines in powered armor used their suits' thrusters to parkour between vessels, treating zero-G combat like an extreme sport. Bet you can't do a triple backflip while planting charges. One challenged over the open channel. Hold my coffee, another responded, executing a perfect spin while attaching explosives to a pirate ship's hull. The human warships performed maneuvers that made the council physicists weep, using gravitational slingshots and tactical FTL jumps in ways that were technically possible but considered completely inappropriate in civilized combat. Inside the captured ships, soldiers advanced while carrying steaming mugs of coffee, occasionally using the hot liquid as an impromptu weapon. Nothing like a cup of joe during a firefight. One Marine broadcast cheerfully while subduing 3 pirates with his free hand. Engineering teams modified their ships mid-battle, welding on additional weapons or rerouting power systems with a casual disregard for proper maintenance protocols. Hey, if we cross these wires and bypass the safety protocols, it'll either double our shield strength or blow us up. Only one way to find out. The council watched in mute horror as human ships executed precision ramming maneuvers, using their reinforced hulls as weapons. I always wanted to try parallel parking at relativistic speeds, one captain announced gleefully. Marines competed to see who could capture the most pirates using increasingly creative methods. One team was using their suits' magnetic systems to juggle captured pirates like zero-G hacky sacks. Is that squad playing catch with confiscated contraband VR cast faintly? Oh good, they found the smuggled goods, Chen remarked, sipping from a suddenly materialized coffee cup. We needed more toys for this party. The battle, if such organized chaos could be called, that lasted exactly 23 minutes. When it ended, every pirate vessel was captured or disabled, their crews detained, and the stolen goods secured. Not a single civilian casualty had been recorded. A Marine appeared on the main screen, her helmet retracted to show a grin that would have made a shark proud. Area secured. We're having a blast out here. Permission to continue being absolutely uncivilized. Chen looked at the council, eyebrows raised. Well, should we return to proper diplomatic channels? The council chamber remained silent, except for the sound of Chen's deliberate coffee sipping. You know, she mused, I think we're just getting started. After all, it would be uncivilized to stop a party early. The cheers from the human forces echoed through the chamber, along with the distinct sound of someone attempting to teach captured pirates the Macarena.ac/DC or Metallica crackled over the fleet comms as human ships pursued the fleeing pirate vessels through asteroid fields and nebulae. Both came the enthusiastic response, followed by the thundering bass of Thunderstruck overlaid with Enter Sandman echoing through space on all frequencies. The council observation ships followed at what they considered a safe distance, recording everything for violation documentation. Their crews watched in mounting horror as humanity demonstrated why safe distance was a relative term. Did that ship just use an asteroid as a pinball bumper? VRK's crystalline form flickered in distress. Gravitational slingshot warfare, whooped a human captain, their ship ricocheting between celestial bodies with impossible precision. Also, anyone want to bet I can thread the needle through that binary star system? The council representatives collectively held their breath as 3 human cruisers played what appeared to be follow the leader through a stellar nursery, using solar flares as propulsion boosters. Meanwhile, boarding teams had turned pirate ship captures into an extreme sport. Marines ran along walls and ceilings in their powered armor, ignoring gravity with cheerful disdain. Hey, watch this. One called out, throwing their combat knife with a spin that somehow curved around a corner to disarm a pirate. Amateur, another responded, juggling 3 knives while walking upside down. Check this out, I call it the inverse space ninja tornado technique. The pirates, hardened criminals who had once terrorized the spaceways, were rapidly developing new phobias. One surrendered immediately when a human kicked down their reinforced door while drinking a smoothie and telling dad jokes. I guess you could say your pirating career is space dust, the Marine grinned, tossing the empty smoothie cup with perfect accuracy into a makeshift recycling bin 20 meters away. Please, the pirate leader begged, I'll tell you anything. Just stop with the puns. Aw, don't be such a space cadet. These jokes are out of this world. On the bridge of a captured pirate flagship, engineers were improving the ship's systems with characteristic human enthusiasm. If we reverse the polarity of the neutron flow, that's not even real physics. Hasn't stopped us yet. Hand me that duct tape. The Council's Scientific Advisory Board was having collective aneurysms watching human ships perform maneuvers that were technically possible but violated all known principles of sensible spaceflight. One vessel pulled off a literal barrel roll through a quantum filament, its crew cheering the whole way. They're using black hole gravity wells as a combat maneuver, one Council scientist whispered in terror. The calculations alone should take days, but they're doing it on the fly while playing air guitar. The remaining pirates were learning the hard way that humans had turned their pursuit into a competition. Teams kept score based on style points, with extra credit for capturing pirates in creative and hilarious ways. That's cheating, protested one Marine. You can't count the synchronized swimming formation in 0G as a legitimate takedown. Watch me. And I'm adding bonus points for artistic interpretation. Chen watched from the council chamber, feet propped on the desk, despite numerous scandalized gasps. You know, she mused to no one in particular, I don't think these pirates are having much fun at our party. Maybe we should show them some proper Deathworlder hospitality. The comms crackled. Did someone say hospitality? Permission to deploy the glitter bombs, ma-am. Make it sparkly. The resulting display of tactical glitter deployment would go down in military history as both highly effective and absolutely fabulous. The final tally was impressive: 312 pirate ships captured, over 2,000 pirates in custody, and 0 civilian casualties. The entire operation had taken less than 6 hours, including breaks for coffee and impromptu zero-G dance parties. The council chamber was unusually quiet as Chen delivered her after-action report, punctuated by occasional sips of her now unconcealed coffee. In conclusion, she smiled sweetly. I'm pleased to report that the uncivilized barbarians have completely eliminated the pirate threat that 13 committees failed to address in 3 weeks of meetings. The effectiveness cannot be denied, Nix-Nax admitted reluctantly, though the methods were most irregular. Irregular, Chen laughed. We had fun, nobody died, and the bad guys are in custody. Sounds pretty civilized to me. She propped her boots on the council table, ignoring the collective gasp. You know what's really uncivilized? Letting people suffer because you're too worried about looking proper. The council shifted uncomfortably as she continued. Here's the thing about us Deathworlders, we learned something you didn't. Real civilization isn't about following rules. It's about protecting people. Sometimes that means doing backflips in power armor. Sometimes it means drinking coffee during firefights. And sometimes, she grinned, raising her mug, it means knowing when to stop pretending to be civilized and start getting things done. The silence stretched until VRK spoke quietly, perhaps. We have something to learn from the humans. Oh, absolutely, Chen's eyes sparkled with mischief. First lesson, life's too short for bad coffee and boring meetings. She took a deliberate sip. So, who else needs some uncivilized problem solving? But watching his warriors trade combat stories with their human counterparts, comparing kill counts and arguing over who pulled off the most impressive feats of physics defying insanity, Vex knew the galaxy would never be the same. They weren't just 2 Deathworld species anymore. 3 days after the battle, Commander Vex stood in the station's observation deck, watching repair crews work in tandem. Human welders moved through space without safety tethers, their natural resistance to vacuum allowing them to reach places Sylpharian repair drones couldn't. Meanwhile, his own people handled the heavy lifting, their crystalline enhanced strength making short work of hull breaches. Final report from the council arrived. Security Chief Chen announced, walking in with a data pad. Her casual stride betrayed no sign of the radiation exposure that would have killed most species. Want to hear something funny? With humans, that could mean anything from mild amusement to planetary devastation, Vex replied, earning a laugh from Chen. Turns out that classification error wasn't just a misplaced decimal point. The original surveyor took one look at Earth's surface readings and assumed their equipment was broken. I mean, what kind of planet has active volcanoes, 3 major predator classes in every ecosystem, and bacteria that eat metal? Yours, apparently, Nova added, entering with her own reports. Her scales had developed a new color pattern that seemed reserved for human interactions, a mix of admiration and bafflement. That's not even the best part, Chen continued, pulling up Earth's actual planetary data. They classified us as a pre-industrial society because they couldn't believe any species would voluntarily live in our major cities. The atmospheric pollution alone should have been lethal. We thought Nexus Prime was harsh, Vex mused, reviewing the data. Your oceans are filled with creatures that could eat our assault vessels. Oh yeah, the giant squids. We keep trying to hire them as ship mechanics, but the paperwork's a nightmare. Chen's straight face lasted exactly 3 seconds before breaking into a grin at Vex's expression. Kidding. Mostly. Though they are surprisingly intelligent. Lieutenant Drake burst into the room, barely containing her excitement. Chief, the council representatives are here. You have to see this. The observation deck's main screen activated, showing the arrival of a Galactic Council diplomatic vessel. The ship was maintaining what they considered a safe distance from the station right up until they spotted humans performing maintenance walks without suits. Their sensors must be going crazy, Rodriguez commented, joining the group. 10 credits says they demand quarantine protocols. No bet, Drake replied. But watch this, she keyed the external cameras, zooming in on the diplomatic shuttle as it approached the airlock. 6 different species of council representatives emerged, each wearing sealed environmental suits rated for extreme hazard zones. They were greeted by Chen casually sipping coffee and a group of off-duty miners playing cards. "Welcome to Titan's Rest," Chen announced cheerfully. "Would you like some refreshments? We just got a new shipment of Carolina Reaper peppers from Earth." The council's chief xenobiologist, safely sealed in his suit, began frantically waving scanning equipment. "Impossible. These readings, your cellular structure, the radiation levels alone." "Yeah, we get that a lot," Chen shrugged. "Wait until you see what happens when we introduce coffee to Sylpharian crystalline matrices. Turns out caffeine does some really interesting things to their energy conversion rates." "That was you," Vex turned to her, his augments pulsing with remembered energy. "I wondered why my warriors were operating at 150% efficiency during the battle." Speaking of which, Nova interjected, her scales shifting to amusement purple. "The council's reclassifying both our species. They're creating a whole new category." Oh, Chen raised an eyebrow. "What are they calling us?" "According to this," Nova checked her data pad, "we're now classified as Convergent Evolution Apex Survivors, or, oh no." What, Vex asked, watching Nova's scales ripple with suppressed laughter. "The acronym. They're calling us Cs. Someone's going to have to tell them what that sounds like in human English." The humans in the room burst out laughing while Chen turned to the bewildered council representatives who were still trying to process humans casually handling materials their suits classified as deadly toxic. So she called out to the sealed diplomats, "Who wants to learn about this Earth thing called practical jokes? I promise it's less deadly than our food." The look of pure terror that crossed the xenobiologist's face suggested the galaxy wasn't quite ready for humanity's unique brand of humor. But as Vex watched his new allies introduce chaos into the carefully ordered universe of galactic bureaucracy, he couldn't help but think that was probably for the best.